my name is Lisa Grace and this is Nailchemy's YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this video.
Oh yeah. Hi guys! Right, let me roll my sleeves up. Okay, I've got an acrylic video for you today. It feels like forever since I've done an acrylic video. I often think back to years ago when I first started doing nails and it was all acrylic. Everything was acrylic. Now we've got so many different systems available to us. Endless choices. And I thought I need to do some filming today. What haven't I done? And I was like, oh, I haven't done any acrylic for a while. So here we are. And I'm going to do something so beautiful and classic. Right, so I've come in with my Nail Prep and my Ultra Bond Platinum. Just give that a minute to dry. I've opened up my monomer and both me and Sam, my model, we've both gone, oh, that smell.
I love
oh, we've not smelled it for ages, have we?
It's just such a wonderful smell.
Oh, yes. I think only nail techs appreciate the smell, don't they? I think anybody else, like some clients and... Like, I remember when I used to work in the house and my husband would walk in, oh, it bloody stinks. I was going to swear then.
Yeah, don't swear, don't swear.
What bloody stinks that does. Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, I mostly use the Aura gel and the...
Full coverage tips.
Yes, that's the words I'm looking for, with the titanium builder jar. I bloody love them. Right,
or the other one that we've been using quite a lot is the fibre gel.
Yes, oh, I like that. The fibre gel. Can't get my words out then. Okay, right. So I'm going to be doing an extended nail bed on this one. I am, of course, using the good old faithful A8. I'm really sorry I don't have a nail on my thumb. I was supposed to do that this morning, but Costa Coffee took priority. Other coffee brands are available. So I'm using my A8 acrylic brush. I've got Glistening Rose in the acrylic powder, and I'm using the medium set speed monomer. Right, we're all trying.
I must be sitting on a nerve. My nail was
twitching then. Right, so Glistening Rose I find it a little bit drier to work with than most of the other powders, so I always work with this one just a little bit wetter just to counteract that. But so many factors are going to alter that temperature in your room, etc, etc. And there's so many different ways that you can do your smile lines. I usually do mine like this, how I'm showing you today. So I usually do the smile line first, and then we'll come in and do the cuticle, and then we do the tip area. Right, so we can see that's starting to set now. It's starting to get that matte look. And it's no longer running away from me, which is great. Nobody likes chasing acrylic.
It is a bit chilly today. We had a bit of snow last night, so...
The devil's cocaine. Lando, baby. Lando, stop. I think he's got a poorly paw. He keeps licking it. Right, so don't worry about getting your smile line perfect. You can always file it up afterwards. But what I always do is push up on the wall and then bounce on the top. And that just helps create a nice flat ledge. Okay, so coming in with the cuticle area, pick your bead up, drain it off. Keep your nail tilted down. And then we can pat that product into the cuticle area. And by keeping that nail tilted down, it's going to avoid the cuticle area flooding, and then we can just blend this down into that first bead that we did, and just keep an eye, make sure it's not running anywhere we don't want it to. And after it started to set up, that's the words I'm looking for, we can then have a look at our apex placement, make sure we've got enough product, which I do think I need to go in just with a teeny tiny little bit more. It's looking a little bit flat on the top. But again, you can see this has started to go all matte. So it's starting to set up. I'm just going to come in and get a little bit more just to go on the top. Blend the back of that bead. Leave the bulk of the product where I've placed it, and then come and blend all the way around. Right, so I'm going to let this nail set up for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to come in and file my wall. Yeah, so I kind of forgot to hit record. Sorry. Right, so let me explain what I've just done. So I'm using a Lyra acrylic colour powder. I believe this is from the Touch of Darkness collection. I'm just waiting for that to be confirmed. Still using my A8, still using the same monomer, and all I've done before I've laid this acrylic down, I've just swiped along the edge of that wall with a little bit of monomer that is just going to help let this acrylic adhere a little bit better. So I've picked up a medium-sized bead and I've popped it down here. I've taken it right up into this corner and I've just worked with this bead, bringing it right down to the edge and blended this section of the bead there. And I'm just about to come in with my second bead. I'm sorry, I forgot to hit record, but I hope that recap is sufficient. And thankfully, you'll get to see this second bead of application. So again, another medium-sized bead. I'm going to tilt my client's hand like this.
It is the Touch of Darkness, you were correct.
Thought so. Place the bead and we're going to take it right up into that corner that we filed in. Make sure there's plenty of product there. It does not matter if you go over your smile line, because we're going to file it all off and reveal that real nice crisp smile line. Take any excess product over to the other side and blend that in. Get a nice seamless transition between the two beads. Alternatively, you can do it all in one bead. You can do it in 3 beads if you want. It makes no difference. Obviously, it's quicker if you're doing in 1 bead. But if you're not overly confident in single beads, that's absolutely fine. There's no shame. I always remember there being so much pressure for me to do everything in 1 bead. And you know what? No, it's fine. It's great. I can work with 1 beads. But sometimes I don't like to. Sometimes I like to just really get things perfect. Right, so I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to go and shove Sam's hand on a radiator because it is quite cool in here today. Get this dried and then I'm going to give it a good file up and I shall be back.
Continue.
Okay, right, we're all set and ready to get filed up. Using my 180 grit for this. So when I did the top part of this nail, I'd already filed that up, so I don't need to worry about that. All I need to do now is file out this smile line and make sure the pink section of this nail is looking spectacular. So you can see now our smile line coming out. Filing off that excess product from the top of the nail. And if you get a bit, I'm going to file this wrong deliberately so I can show you. I'm going to try and file this nail wrong deliberately. Let's see what we can do. It's always the case, isn't it? When you're trying to do things perfectly, everything goes wrong. And when you're trying to mess it up on purpose, everything goes perfectly. Right, so that's a good example. Got this. Done it. I've messed it up perfectly. Right, so if I'm smiling my file line. Oh my goodness. Do you know, I went to a restaurant the other day and sometimes I like to have a Fanta and I'll have half Fanta, half Sprite. And I asked for half a Spranta, half a Sprite. Boom! Right. Filed it so perfectly wrong. So we can see we've got a real nice crisp smile line around here. And then here it just goes a bit
wonky.
There. It's a bit cloudy. And you're thinking, well, you know, I've filed it. I've filed everything all the same. Trust the process. We know so long as you've filed in that 90-degree wall, you know your smile line is under there, and it's still a little bit cloudy here, look. So I'm just going to come over it. Look at that now, nice and crisp. There's just this section here, just a little,
Yeah,
and
look
you know.
at that. Look how
And if you
quickly-
can't see it spot on, just pop a little bit of your isopropyl alcohol or a bit of monomer. Can you see it's still touch cloudy there? All that is a little bit of the residual pink acrylic that we laid on top. So just by filing that off, look, nice and sharp and crisp now. That's what we wanted. So if you are struggling to see because of the file lines, just come over with something wet. Can be a little bit of monomer or a little bit of your isopropyl alcohol, your what's it called? Slip solution, that's the word I'm looking for. Or even your gel cleanser wipe off solution, any of that sort of stuff.
If you are using your
Don't
monomer,
use
though,
acetone.
I was going to say, if you are using your monomer, be sparing with it because you don't want to re-wet your acrylic.
It's sat there, but that's not going to make any difference.
Oh, all right then. Ignore me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Don't listen to the model, listen to the nail tech.
But don't use
acetone. No, acetone's fine as well. That's what I've just used. Sam, shut up.
You just said don't use acetone.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, well, don't repeat my bad advice. No, you can use acetone, but obviously just a quick swipe. It's not going to do any damage. Right, so now I can double check that I'm happy with this. Just take a little bit off on that end.
See, the only thing I don't like about having acrylics is the filing process.
Yeah, you know, I've always been an L&P tech, and I've always loved acrylic. But as I was saying earlier, you know, we're so blessed now with so many different systems that we can use on our clients. And I love my Oragel. I absolutely love my Oragel. Right, top coat. Right, so when you're all filed up and happy, I'm going to give it just a quick little buff, just to get rid of some of those file lines, and then we can come in with our top coat. Get rid of that dust again. That colour's stunning, isn't it?
It's beautiful. It's pink. Well, it's a magenta, isn't it? It's
But it's got that very, very subtle blue hue to it, which I absolutely love. Right, kind of need a lamp, don't we?
that's always about
There you go. Right, Sam, pop that in the lamp for me, please. Right, so I'm going to be doing some 3D flowers. So I still need my monomer. And I'm going to be using the mini 3D. You can do your 3D work straight onto a cured top coat. You don't need to worry about buffing it or anything. Some people do. I've personally never had any issues with it though. So I've got my mini 3D acrylic brush, and I'm using, what's that called, Lily? Yes, using Lily. That's the white acrylic powder. And I'm just going to figure out roughly, so can it, let me get this in shot there. So you can see the size bead I've got there. So it just usually takes me a couple of beads to get the right ratio. That was a dead one. There we go. So just let that kind of collect on there for a minute, and then I can place that down. So by allowing it to sit on your brush for a minute, it just allows a little bit more monomer to get into the bead. Right, so I've placed that bead down, let it settle. I can see it starting to go matte, so I'm just going to kind of split this bead, make it look like a croissant or a half moon. Split that bead, flip my brush round, so the brush is always going to be pointing towards the centre of the flower. Keep it relatively flat, but not completely flat. And I'm just going to push that bead out like so. So always keep the brush pointing towards the centre of where the flower is going to be. So we're constantly contouring. You do not want to be pressing your bead out all in the same direction. Right, so that was the imprint from the bead that we picked up. Do you use that as like your size reference, your size guide? So if I want the same amount of product, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip in, and if I do that, I can see that that's left a much smaller hole. I need to be going for around about that much. So just use it as a guide for how much product to pick up. Okay, same again. Let that sit on the brush for a second. Now I'm going to pop this just down and to the right of that bead. And then I can wipe off my brush, let that bead settle. As you get quicker and quicker at this, you'll actually manage to be able to put down 2 or 3 beads at the same time. So you put one down and then go and get your next one, pop that one down, and then you can go and rework your first petal and then your second petal. Right, so I'm going to split this one here now, make that croissant, like so. And then work my brush into a point, and again, point of the brush towards the centre of the flower. And I can come and push and pull this about. So these 2 petals over here are overlapping, which is what we want. Spread them out like that. So however many petals you do is completely up to you. I don't always go for an exact amount. Obviously, as we're working towards the centre of the flower, our petals are naturally going to get smaller, but use it as a guide just to help and assist. So I normally do maybe 3-4 petals. Always split that croissant. And then come in, point of the brush towards the centre of the flower. And I never make it a perfect circle. Can you see how this one kind of dips a little bit? Let me zoom in a little bit on that. So it kind of comes up and then down and up and down. That's what we want. So some areas I'll press a little bit harder than others. Right, so I'm kind of happy with that. I'm going to work on the centre of the flower now. You might think, oh my God, but that's such a large area. We're going to create a spiral of acrylic and then pull it all out. So I'm going to need a little bit. If you're doing individual petals, you're going to need to keep going smaller and smaller with your beads. But because I'm going to make this all one consistent bead, I'm going to get quite a chunk here. Quite a bit of acrylic. Oh no. That sort of size again. Let it just start to sit on your brush. By letting it sit on your brush as well, it's going to minimise it running all over, especially with that top coat. That top coat is going to be slippery. Okay, so I'm going to pop that down in the middle, just tapping that into place. We got our blob. Now I'm going to split this, not completely in the middle. I'm going to split it. I'm just flatten my brush out a little bit. You've got loads of time to work with this, by the way, so don't panic. I'm going to split this just to the left a little bit, like that. And then get my brush into a fine point. And a 90-degree angle, I'm going to go up that split and continue in a spiral. Create a spiral. Like that. You see that? So now I'm going to come in very carefully, tip of the brush towards the centre of the flower. Start pushing this out. You need to retweak your spiral, you can do. And push the whole thing out. So the angle of my brush is not as flat as it was with the first lot of petals. just because I want to add some height to this. And obviously as you come in towards the centre of a flower, the petals aren't as flat as they are on the outside. Trying to talk and concentrate at the same time. Just the tip of that brush just to curve the last of that acrylic round. Right, when you're happy, we'll leave that as is. I'm going to come in and do just a couple of leaves now, and then I'm going to come and add some colour. So I usually add the leaves wherever there's two petals that connect. That's where I'll add the leaves. So like here or there, or I mean there's not enough room down there, so I'm going to come from here. So I'm going to place my acrylic. I'm not going to wipe my brush off. I'm going to take the point of that and take that right into the centre of where those petals connected, and I'm just going to take, just with the tip of my brush, bring this down into a point. I start giving a little bit of direction. Then I'm going to wipe my brush off, give that a second to set, and then again using my brush like a knife. That started to go matte, and very lightly just going to come through, make a line like that, and then again just squash this out a little bit like what we did with the petals. Just flatten that out a little bit and then manipulate it. If you've gone too chunky, you can bring it back in like so. I'm going to add one more petal here, and then we're going to come back and add a little bit of colour. So I want this, I've dropped that, I want this one a little bit smaller, so I'm going to pick up a little less acrylic. Take that into that crease there, and again, just get the shape semi kind of there. Wait for it to start setting. I'm just going to get my brush into a nice point. Very gently, light pressure, just going to come through there, create that line. Press that out, and then pull it back in and manipulate it however you want. Okay, so when it comes to adding a little bit of colour, I'm going to be using Alira again. And all I'm going to do is pretty much just like a whitewash with it. So I'm just going to get a tiny little bit of Alira. And I'm going to come in between each petal. I'm not wiping my brush off, it's full of monomer. And I'm just going to kind of paint this on. So I want it nice and dark right down in here. And then I'm kind of pulling it up and wiping it away as we go up the petals. Helps create a little bit of shadow, a little bit of definition. And just takes it from being I was going to say a flat white nail. Obviously it's not flat, it's 3D. But it takes it from being a boring white flower, which I don't think is boring. You know what I mean. Just gives it a little something extra. And keep coming into your monomer and wash that off. And you'll keep that nice shadow of that pink from underneath. A little bit for this one. You can add crystals or caviar beads or all sorts to the centre of your flower if you want to. Do whatever you want. Okay, I'm just going to get a little bit more. And I'm going to add this on the actual nail, really. And same as what we've done with the petals. Get it under and then kind of wash it out. It's just going to add a little bit more shadow under those first petals that we did. So you're not going to be top coating your petals. They're not going to go anywhere. They don't need sealing in or anything. You'll actually lose a lot of the definition if you top coat them. There we go. Fab. Happy with that. Right, so it doesn't need to go in the lamp. Obviously, it's not a gel-based product. So give that just a couple of minutes to... What's the word I'm looking for, Sam?
Dry.
Yes, completely sets. And then we can come in with our cuticle oil. I'm using the Banana Elixir cuticle oil on this one. And pop that in and give it a little rub. And there you go.
So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Don't forget to give us a little thumbs up, hit like on that video, drop any comments that you've got down in the comment section below, and more importantly, make sure you hit subscribe so that you get a notification for all of our future videos. All of the products that I've used today you can find on our website, which is nailchemy.co.uk, and I will see you in the next video.